Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we will go ahead and learn how to implement the login and logout functionality. So in the previous lectures we have actually created the registration functionality, and the way in which we have created that functionality is that first we have created this view right here which was called as the register view. Then we have actually created this template as well, which is nothing but we have added a form and a submit button, and also we actually had to go into the urls.py file of our main site, which is nothing but this file right here, and we have simply added up the path for the register view. So this is all we had to do in order to go ahead and implement the register functionality, but the way in which we are implementing the login functionality is going to be slightly different. So in case of implementing the login functionality, you don't have to actually go ahead and write in a view. Instead, Django actually provides you with an inbuilt view which is going to take care of the entire login functionality, and you just have to create a small template for it. So now let's learn how exactly can we do that. So whenever you want to build something or some functionality, you always go ahead and start with either a view, or you simply go ahead and start with a URL pattern, which is this right here. So we are actually going to add the logout and login functionality to the URL patterns of the main site, which is my site right here, or the main project. So now let's go ahead and actually have a path to create a login. So as I earlier mentioned, the login functionality is going to use an inbuilt view from Django. So even before we start creating the path, let's actually import that particular view. So in order to import those views, you simply type in from django.contrib.auth. we need to import views. Now instead of simply importing views over here, you also name this particular import as something, because we have already imported certain kinds of views here, and that might actually cause confusions. So we have named the views from the users as users view. So in order to import views from django.contrib.auth, we will actually go ahead and name them as authentication views. So I can simply type in as authentication underscore views. So once we go ahead and do that, we are pretty much good to go. So now let's go ahead and create the path for the login view. So I'll type in path over here, and let's say for login, you simply go ahead and type in login slash, and now here in order to add views, we are going to make use of this particular views which we have just imported. So I can type in authentication views, and now in order to get access to the login view, you simply go ahead and type in .login view. And now one more interesting thing about this inbuilt login view is that this is not just a normal regular view. Instead, they are actually class-based views. Now we have not learned about class-based views yet, but soon we are going to do that in the upcoming lectures. But for now, you need to understand that whenever you are using a class-based view, and whenever you actually want to have access to them, you always go ahead and type in .asView. So now once we are done with this, let's also add the name for the URL. So that's going to be, let's say, login. Simply give a comma and we are good to go. So just as we have added the path for the login view, let's also go ahead and create a path for the logout view as well. So you simply need to go ahead, copy that, paste it over here, and replace this with logout. And instead of login view, for the logout functionality, we will go ahead and use the logout view. And let's name this URL as logout. Okay, so now once this thing is done, we have set up the actual URL patterns for these paths right here. And once we have set up the paths, we always go ahead and make sure to create views, but in this case we already have those views over here. So now the one important thing which remains is that you don't have templates for the login and logout view. So the login and logout views are actually inbuilt, but still they require templates to actually function. And in order to confirm if that's true, let's actually go ahead, run the server, and let's try to access login over here, and let's see what do we get. So if I go ahead and type in login. I guess I misspelled this. This should be login. And as you can see, when I go ahead and type in /login, it says that template does not exist at /login, which means that Django is actually looking for the login template in the registrations directory. So now what we want to do here is that we want to create a template for the login view. But one more thing which you need to do now is that you need to tell Django that don't look for the login template in the registrations directory. Instead, look for that in the users directory. So in order to mention a new path for the template, you actually go ahead, go into the as view over here, and here you can define the path where Django needs to look for the login template. So in order to add that path, you can type in template underscore name, and you can type in this equals and then specify the actual path where Django needs to look for the login template. So we are going to place the login template in users, and the name of that is going to be login.html. So we simply go ahead and type that thing in over here. And now we also do the same thing with logout as well. That is, we type in template underscore name is going to be equal to user/logout.html. Okay, so once we do that, we are pretty much good to go. Now the only thing which we need to do is that we need to create these respective templates, which is the login.html and logout.html. So let's go to the users directory, which is this directory right here, and in the users, let's go to templates, again go to users, and let's create a new file here, and let's name this thing as login.html. So once we have this login.html, you can simply go ahead and create a form right here. So whenever you want to create a basic form, you simply go ahead, type in the form tag, then you go ahead and first of all add the csrf token. So you type in csrf underscore token, and then you simply go ahead and type in form in this syntax. Then finally you need a submit button. So I'll type in button, type is going to be submit, and then you simply say something like login. And once we have created this form, we are pretty much good to go. And let me just make sure that if we have not left anything over here. Okay, so one thing which we also need to add is that we also need to add the method as post over here to the login form. So you type in method equals post. Okay, so once we are done with this, let's actually save the code and let's see if the form actually works. So let me just go ahead and let me open up the login form, and as you can see, when you go to the localhost port 8000/login, you should get this form right here. Now even before testing this form, let's first go ahead and let's make sure if the admin user is logged in. So let's simply go to /admin, and right now as you can see, the admin user is logged in. So let's try to log out from here and let's see if we can log in as admin from here. So right now, if you go to the admin site, you will get this form right here, which means the admin is not logged in yet. So now let's go ahead and try to log in as admin from here. So I'll type in my admin or the super user credentials over here. So I'll type in my name, then the password is super user. And now when I go ahead and click login, as you can see, you actually get an error over here which says page not found. And that's because if you have a look at this URL right here, you will notice that Django is now trying to redirect us to this particular URL right here, which is the accounts/profile. And this is nothing but the profile page of the user which we have just created. But as we all know, we have not yet created any sort of profile page for users. And that's actually fine for now because we have not yet created this user profile page. But right now, let's see if we actually now have access to the admin panel. So now I'll go ahead and type in /admin, and when I go ahead and hit enter, as you can see, we are now logged in into the admin panel, which means that the login functionality was successful. So now, once the login functionality is successful, we also need to change the way in which the login form actually redirects us when we successfully log in. So as I earlier mentioned, now we are logged in, whenever we log in, we are redirected to this particular URL, but let's say we want to redirect to some other URL. So how exactly can we do that? We can change this default Django behavior by just going into the settings.py file. So if you go to the settings.py file of your main app, and if you scroll down over here, you can add your very own settings which you want. So in order to change the login redirect URL, you need to simply go ahead and type in login_redirect_URL, and here you can specify the path, which is the path for the index or the index.html template. So for that, you can simply type in food:\index. So now once we are done with this, we can simply go ahead and save the code. So now let's see what exactly happens if we actually log in. So now let me just go ahead and log out from here. So I'll click on the logout button, and now let's go ahead and try to access the login page. So let's log in with the admin credentials over here. So I'll type in my name, then I'll type in super user as well. And when I click on login, as you can see, now we are actually redirected to the index page and not to the user profile page, which we had not created, which means that we have successfully implemented the login functionality. So in the next lecture, what we will do is that we'll go ahead and make sure that when the user actually registers, he is not redirected to the index page, but instead, upon successfully completing his registration, he is redirected to the login page, which is this page right here. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.